Hey guys, it's Don here. So, what is in today's episode? It's actually just a little point that we picked up in the 5-day challenge, and it's repeated itself a few times. And it's around why is accountability important and who is it important for? From a personal point of view, who should we be accountable to? And it's just me flying solo today, so it's kind of like one of Don's ramblings, but I really do enjoy trying to get into the flow of these sometimes because there are some gems that come out of it for me. And again, whenever we speak, we learn. Whenever we teach, we learn. And I'm constantly learning and I'm really enjoying this journey. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I do. I come at it from a few different angles. And I think it is the first video recorded podcast that I've done solo. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Good afternoon, evening, morning, really early morning, whatever time it is by you and you're listening to this, I appreciate you. If you are listening to this between the hours of 12 and 6, you should possibly be doing shift work. If not, whatever you're doing, I love you for listening to me regardless. So welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with your host, Don, and no one else. Ray is not available tonight, so I wanted to make sure that we got one out. So obviously we did the 12 days of Christmas over Christmas. Big hint there. And we decided not to release an episode last week because it's good to just take a break every now and again. Consistency does not mean under all circumstances you do it. Again, we're bringing the elements of high performance. You don't play a match every day. You play a match, you recover, you practice, you review, you preview, you preview, you go again. And now we're going again. And really, I love doing this. But I also realize I think that this is the first solo podcast that I'm doing recording myself. So if you're watching the video and you say you watch this on YouTube, then hi. And if you listen to this, then hi. So today it's, hopefully not going to be a long one. Depends if we get into flow or not. But I wanted to talk to you about why accountability is the missing link in your personal growth. And what does that mean? Well, I'd say for me, it's how vulnerable are you willing to be to share with someone what you're trying to achieve so that you can be held accountable to someone else other than yourself? And I know it's a big one to get your head around. Some people naturally just do it. They're like, this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going. And they fully believe in it. And they generally, those kind of people will generally achieve it regardless because they're fully bought in. But I'm probably more talking to those of us, those of you, those of them that haven't recognized how ego plays a role. And ego is a good and a bad thing, by the way. It can get in our way. We have to put it on our side. But sometimes we're scared to share what we want to achieve with others, even if it's anyone else. And why? And I get it. I get sometimes you've got to be careful who you share things with because they're going to give you immediate blockers. And at a time when you don't need a blocker, you have to be very careful about who you share things with. But I'm talking about when you're faced with someone that truly believes in what you want to do and you don't let them hold you accountable. Why is that? And we're not going to go down that route, but I think it's pretty important to recognize this one key aspect. And it's this. It's really easy to be accountable to other people, but it's hard to be accountable to just yourself. So it's about self-value, perhaps. It's about not recognizing how important you are. And what does that mean is I used to really struggle with consistency. And I know some people are like, but Don, you're a professional rugby player. I think you're talking nonsense. You were obviously consistent to be at that level. And I say, yes, I was consistent when I was accountable to other people. So you're earning a salary, you got a contract, you're part of a team, there's competition, you also have some drive. And so you have to be consistent. You don't really have a choice. If you have responsibilities, like at a family, we had a house, we have all those kind of things that you realize that there's a link between the money you earn, what you do, and the responsibilities you have. It's easy to be consistent because you're accountable to other people. But what I'm talking about is the accountability for yourself where no one else knows but you, and it doesn't really matter even to you, but it does matter to you. Does that make sense? So what I mean, a little thing like making your bed. if you live on your own, or even if you live with someone, if you don't make your bed, it doesn't matter. Like if you don't do one day of self-care, like does it really matter to anyone else other than you? And that's where I think we get unstuck, is we constantly reinforce the fact that it doesn't matter because it doesn't affect anyone else. And I think that's a key thing that we've got to try and get our heads around, that it actually does matter. It matters to the most important person in the world, to you, and that is you. It matters to you, because we will go through life and we can hide who you are from others. You can hide everything. That's why putting a mask on, putting on a fake energy, just trying our best to be someone that we're not, it's easier. Like no one sells courses on that. No one gives advice on how to be someone that you're not, because we all do that naturally. Human beings, we want to fit in. But what about behind closed doors? And that person, like who is that? Like if you were to have a fly on a wall and be kind of Big Brother, that there's cameras everywhere, how would that be? Like what would people see then? Would you be proud of it? If your answer is no, I wouldn't be proud of it, then maybe you've got to realize that you're not really proud of yourself with just what you do. And that's something we've got to realize. It's like, okay, well, what would you need to do to be proud of yourself? We've got to really think about those kind of things and how we're holding our own standards, regardless of what standards other people have. And when you can get in alignment with the standards you want to hold for yourself and the standards you actually hold for yourself, you will start to feel, I think, a bit more at ease. Now, I think we talk about accountability, which means that find someone that'll hold you accountable in the best way possible, because they see you in the best way possible, until you've learned to hold yourself accountable. So what does that mean? I mean, so my story is I probably used social media to hold me accountable to my daily ice baths. So everyone that commented and liked and told me how much it was making a difference, thank you, because you were the reasons that I was able to keep going and do them consistently. And I know on the outside it may seem like, oh, but Don just gets in and it's easy enough for him, but it wasn't. It was the only reason I did some of those days was because I knew there were people watching, and there were some people that would comment every single day, or they would like the post every single day. And they kept me accountable until I got to a point where I was still doing it and not posting. And I was like, okay, I know I've achieved something. I'm now able to be accountable to myself. And so there's certain things that I will do that unless you come into the challenges or you chat to me, that you probably won't see me putting on social media or anything like that. And that's because I've learned to be accountable to myself, because I've always said there's a thing called a silent CV, which is big in leadership. Or from my point of view, is we've always got to think about our silent CV is what you do now and how that will play out in the future. As in the things you do now where you don't realize that there's a consequence to, is part of your silent CV in your future. Now, what if you were to take that principle of having a silent CV and put it to yourself, and the things that you do for yourself now count for your CV for yourself in your future? And that's where you start to get self-confidence from. So I want to really just hone in on the fact that you are always watching. I said earlier, you can hide who you are from others, but you cannot hide from yourself. And that's the thing. I think we think we can fool ourselves. We talk about the energy that you give off, like when you're around other people and you're saying things. Why are some people like just naturally inspiring and you don't really know why? What is it that's different between them and someone else that may say the same thing, but you just have this there's just this thing that's like, well, isn't something not quite right? I think it's one of those where if you've got something like packed in the back of your mind, i.e. that thing you do when no one is watching, that you know that you shouldn't be doing, that you don't want to do, but you keep doing it. When you get in front of other people, like when you're socializing, when you're with your kids, all that kind of stuff, that's still going to be in the back of your mind. You may just think no one else can pick up on that. But if you start to become aware of like the subconscious cues that we give off in behavior, the micro expressions, the energy that we give off, some people just ooze this like authenticity, this energy that's like, I'm really interested in what you're saying. I can fully buy into it. And some people you're just like not quite sure what it is, but there's something fake about this. And I think that's what we've got to realize. If you truly want to be authentic and you want to go out there and you want to be able to inspire other people, you want to be able to inspire yourself, it has to start with what you do when no one is watching, your accountability to yourself. Because when you've got something in the back of your mind that's there and you're talking to others and you're giving it off, if in the back of your mind you know that there's something that's not quite true, people are going to pick up on that. And we think that they're not. Okay, they're not. We know we won't necessarily be able to explain why. They're just not going to have that same feeling. And I want us to just, it doesn't have to be a long episode, but it is around how can you learn to be accountable for yourself when it doesn't matter in terms of a physical consequence or anything else that's going to happen, but you know that it really matters in the long run for who you are. And I want us to, how do we do that? I would say you've got to try and find an accountability buddy. Like I said, that's why community is important. That's why that saying of you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you become the 6th. You surround yourself with 5 drug addicts, you become the 6th. You surround yourself with 5 lazy people, you become the 6th. So you have to choose your social circle very, 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 very carefully, because their habits will start to rub off on you, or you decide to make yourself into the person that can go into your social circle and be the one that everyone else starts to copy or starts to mirror, as a better way, because no one actually intentfully copies. And I think that's it. Like that for me is a better thing to strive for. Is sometimes you've got friends that you love, but they just do things that you just like that's not part of who I want to be. It doesn't help me. But you know that you love them and you would be there for them no matter what. So that's where you've got to really focus in on being accountable for yourself, so that you can go into any situation and be who you are. And just by doing that, people are going to be like, wow, there's something about that person. There's something about him or her that makes me want to go, can I tap into that? Can I tap into a bit of what you got? We actually told Laurie this. I can't remember where I heard it. It may have been the Glorious Instagram, but there's some real treasures on there. And someone said, if you can describe, or if you can think about your energy and how you present yourself as a candle that's lit. So this candle light is there. Everywhere you go, you're going to get people that want to maybe blow your flame out. And we want to make sure that we're not dimming our flame either, to be able to not spread too much light or brighten people's eyes around us. But actually, that's kind of wrong thinking. Like, you want to know that you've got to make your flame burn bright. And you do that by making sure that you protect what is yours and don't let your value be chosen by anyone else. Don't let your value be assessed by anyone else. Don't let someone else's opinion and viewpoints on the world affect your value. And I think that's such a key thing, is like, just make sure that you're burning your candle bright. And yeah, I think that's my message. That's all I literally want to say. This is a 14 minute episode all around. Let's make sure that we are learning to be accountable for ourselves when it doesn't affect anyone else. If you can learn to do that, I think you'll start to realize that it's not about motivation. It's not about, here we go. This is where I actually think it gets, if any of you want a bit of a deeper layer, it's not about using fear as a motivator. Because I think that's what that is if you're accountable to other people, it's maybe avoiding shame, it's avoiding fear, it's avoiding letting people down. There might be elements of people pleasing in that. Whatever it is, if it's, I just think at the root of that type of motivation, it's a fear-based motivation. And if it's a fear-based motivation, the long-term effects are negative. And that's what we've got to try and think about, is how we can get an internal motivation that's positive, so that it lasts for a lifetime and has a positive effect on us, like a cumulatively positive effect on us. And if we're trying to think about it in that scientific term, it's generally, if you can make yourself accountable to yourself, for yourself, and that's it, everything else starts to tie in around you. But also, that there's long-term elements in it. Because remember, with that external motivations, it's always going to have your mind will get used to it. So if you want to link in dopamine, external motivations will be getting a dopamine hit, but your brain will counterbalance that and drop the dopamine effect, or to get used to it, so that you need bigger and bigger external motivations. I'm hoping you're still with me. I did exactly what I do if people are watching. Like, do you get me? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I'm looking for that affirmation. But realistically, I hope that you're still with me and you get it. Like, I want you to try and work on you for you, because if you can work on you for you, then the effect that you'll have on others will be great. And when you can work on you for you and you're confident who you are, your effect on others isn't determined by their reaction to your effect. There will still be stages when you are, like, let's say, for example, you're proud of who you are and you step out and say your significant other immediately slaps you down. If that knocks you back, then you're still not working on yourself for you. You're working on yourself for others. So it's a really good sign to think about, like, wow, if that's affecting me, if I'm needing that positive affirmation from them, am I really doing this for me? Because you're still looking for external sources of affirmation. And yes, there are times, and I'm saying make yourself accountable. It's quite ironic. I'm saying make yourself accountable, but you have to find the right people until you've learned to be accountable for yourself. Because there is a stage, there is a time in life where you will go out there and you will not be affected by other people's opinions, putting their barriers in your way, because you're so confident in your journey, in who you are and where you're going, what you're about, that you recognize that it's just not the right time for them, or that you just don't see eye to eye, and you allow them to pass and move on. And I think when you get to that stage, you become more like, you have a lot more faith in who you are. And I think that's where joy or contentment or happiness may lie, is that everything you need, you realize, is within yourself. And I know that message goes around a lot, but I'm hoping that attacking it from lots of different angles gives you insights, gives you the feedback that you may need, maybe just the thing that you're looking for. Is, if you've been trying really hard on personal growth, but you still find yourself getting affected by others, then my question or my challenge to you is, are you doing that for other people? Are you working on yourself for others? Because if you are, it's always going to end up in disappointment in one way or another, because one person may be happy, the next person won't. But if you're doing it truly for yourself, then you're going to worry less about other people's disappointments or their negative opinions or their limitations, and you're just going to be content in who you are. And I think that's a beautiful place to be, right in the middle, right in the center of your world is you. And then you start to realize that everything starts to fit itself in around you, and that's where it is. That's where I want you to get to, and I want you to know that it is there. So thank you very much for listening. I didn't want to make this long, and appreciate any comments, feedback that you guys have. It's an exciting journey, and I really, really am looking forward to what 2025 brings for all of you, for us, for me personally. I love doing what I do, and I appreciate you guys listening. And remember, if this helped you, share it with someone. If you haven't followed, follow. If you haven't rated us, it'd be great to get a rating on the podcast. I think that they all do help. And I appreciate you. So remember, I'll work on me for you if you can work on you for me. And Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And remember, appreciate the ones that are around you that you love. High five them, give them cuddles, give them love. Just tell people that you love them. All right? I love you. All right. Bye.